A flexible cable is suspended between two fixed supports, and it carries a load spread along its length. The load is heavier towards the right. The shape the cable takes satisfies a differential equation. The second derivative of the height at each position equals the load at that position. The height is prescribed at the two supports and nowhere else. No slope is given at either end, and nothing is given in between. A differential equation together with prescribed values at the two ends of an interval is called a two-point boundary value problem. Such problems are common in nature, and the solution can seldom be written in elementary terms. A numerical method approximates the height at a finite number of points. The interval is divided into 5 equal subintervals by 4 interior grid points. The step size is the length of one subinterval, 1/5 in this case, and every grid point is a whole multiple of it. At the two ends, the height is already known. Both values are 0, and they are not unknowns at all. The 4 interior heights are the unknowns. Approximating them is the whole of the numerical problem. Consider one interior node together with the node on either side of it. Between the nodes, the cable is taken to be straight. The straight cord joining the two outer nodes passes above the middle one because the cable sags away from it. The vertical gap between the cord and the middle node measures that sag. The midpoint of the cord is the average of the two outer heights, so twice the gap is exactly the second difference of the 3 heights. Divided by the step size squared, that second difference approximates the second derivative of the height at the middle node. The next frame gives the reason. The differential equation states that the second derivative equals the load at that node. Substituting and clearing the fraction gives one linear equation. The signs are chosen to make the middle coefficient positive, and the equation involves 3 consecutive unknowns and no others. The justification is the Taylor expansion of the height about the node, evaluated one step to the right. One step to the left gives the same expansion with every odd power of the step size reversed in sign. Adding the two expansions cancels every odd term. The first derivative disappears, the third disappears, and the first surviving correction carries the fourth derivative. Dividing by the step size squared isolates the second derivative and leaves an error proportional to the square of the step size. That is why the centered difference is preferred. A one-sided difference has an error proportional to the step size itself, which is far larger. A concrete load is needed. Take one that grows in direct proportion to the distance from the left support. The sampled cable returns, with its 4 interior heights and 2 supports. With that load and that step size, the right-hand side at each node is the negative of the node number, a whole number every time. The first node takes its left neighbor from the support, whose height is 0, so that term disappears. The second node has interior neighbors on both sides, so all 3 heights appear in its equation. The third node is the same, one step further along. At the fourth node, the neighbor on the right is the other support, and that term disappears as well. 4 nodes give 4 equations in 4 unknowns, and each equation reaches only as far as the neighboring nodes. The 4 equations stand beside the array, one equation level with the row it becomes. The first equation carries a 2 on the first unknown and a -1 on the second, and each coefficient drops into its own column. A column the equation never mentions still has a coefficient, and that coefficient is 0. The second equation reaches both ways, so it fills 3 columns and its load goes to the right of the bar. The third equation does the same, 1 column further along. The fourth equation has no neighbor on the right, so it fills only 2 columns, and the rest of its row is 0. Its coefficient is 0, and the zeros are what make the pattern visible. Read down the array: a 2 on the diagonal, a -1 on either side, and 0 everywhere else. 3 bands carry everything: the subdiagonal, the main diagonal, and the superdiagonal. A matrix of that form is said to be tridiagonal, and it is what finite differences produce. Elimination on this array is unusually cheap because below each pivot, there is at most one entry that is not 0. Each pivot follows from the one before it. The first pivot is the top left entry itself. Eliminating the entry beneath it subtracts 1 over that pivot, leaving 3 halves. The same step at the next stage subtracts 2/3, leaving 4/3. once more at the last stage, leaving 5/4. The pattern continues at every stage, and every pivot exceeds 1. Each is therefore larger in magnitude than the entry beneath it, so partial pivoting selects the diagonal and no interchange is performed. The product of the pivots is the determinant, and it equals the number of nodes plus 1. It is never 0, so the matrix is non-singular at every size, and the problem has exactly one solution. Both facts belong to this particular matrix, not to tridiagonal matrices in general. A general one may still require an interchange, which spoils the band. Solving the 4 equations gives 4 heights, and every one of them is a whole number. Substituting them back into the 4 equations reproduces the 4 right-hand sides exactly, so the reduction has not altered the system it started from. Every height is negative, so every node hangs below the line joining the 2 supports. The deepest node is the 3rd, which lies to the right of center. That is where the load is heavier, so it is where the cable hangs lowest. The geometric reading holds on the numbers. The 2 neighbors of the 2nd node average -6, the node itself sits 1 unit lower, and twice that gap is the 2 standing on the right of its equation. For this particular load, the exact solution can be written down in closed form, and it turns out to be a cubic. The 4 computed heights land on that curve exactly. There is no error at the nodes at all. That agreement is not a general property of the method, and it must not be read as one. The error term carries the 4th derivative, and a cubic has no 4th derivative, so the term is identically 0. The load was linear, so the exact shape was a cubic, and only then. For any other load, the error falls off with the square of the step size, and accuracy is bought with more nodes. Accuracy demands many nodes, and many nodes make a large matrix. The same 3 bands appear whatever the number of nodes, and everything outside them is 0. Below each pivot, there is at most 1 entry that is not 0, so a single row operation clears the whole column. Elimination on this array also creates no entries that were not there before. The bands are preserved, which is what keeps back substitution cheap as well. 2 multiplications suffice at each step of the triangularization, and at most 2 at each step of the back substitution. The total cost therefore grows in proportion to the number of nodes, rather than as its cube. A full elimination that ignored the structure would do enormously more arithmetic for the same answer. The same construction applies to the general 2-point boundary value problem, with 3 known coefficient functions and a known load. The height is prescribed at both ends of the interval, and at neither end is anything else prescribed. Replacing both derivatives by centered differences at the interior nodes produces a tridiagonal system again, because each difference reaches exactly 1 node in each direction. That answers 2 questions at once. Practical linear systems are large because accuracy demands many nodes, and they are structured because each node speaks only to its neighbors.